I believe the second biggest use of hydroelectric power, which is always an issue with the U.S. as well as us selling our water, issues become. But other than that, I would say I'm probably like a lot of people that you go, I really don't know. I know there's some coal-fired that produces a lot of it, hydroelectric, but where it comes from, typically how it gets to my house, en masse. One of the things that I think we all talk about is, we need to leave the planet a better place for our kids. And I think a lot of people, that's a lot of lip service until you have kids. And then all of a sudden, you start looking around and you're going, what are we doing and what's going to be left? When you hear things about the tar sands and the footprint it's leaving. When I traveled just this last fall down to Palm Springs, and you see the big wind towers everywhere. Big windmills generating energy, and you hear about the effect of the cost of housing behind it, how much lower it is, because nobody wants to live there for all the changes that go on behind it because of what's going on with it. So that kind of thing starts to make me think an awful lot more about what we're doing, how we're wasting, what we could do better and change. So my daughter and other kids will actually have a place they can live and not be in a cloud of smog and filth and have energy instead of back to caveman days rubbing sticks together going, how are we going to live and survive? I would say my energy consumption probably wouldn't change a lot if I was aware that it was coming from solar or wind power. In the fact we tend to be very aware of our electrical power, and I do have a 6-year-old that walks around clicking lights off as soon as I turn them on, which is what made me more aware. I think the biggest difference between fossil fuels and wind and solar power and alternative energies is one is renewable and one is not. Once the oil and gas are gone, they're gone. Until millions of years from now when we're gone and the whole system has gone around once again. Wind and solar are renewable. The challenges that I see with solar or wind is if it's not windy and it's not sunny, you're going to have some challenges with energy at nighttime. If it's solar power, and if it's wind, same thing when you have wind. So that might bring up challenges with regard to how do you store that energy to use it in the times when it's not windy or sunny. The difference in products or commodities that might result from the two, fossil fuels are responsible for so many of the things we have. Clothing, plastics, not necessarily good for the environment again, but so much of what's manufactured or developed or produced is produced on a scale because of what goes into it. Sulfur goes into plastics, which is of course a byproduct coming out of oil and gas. But so many of our products are, and whether those could be manufactured without the raw fuel is yet to be seen, whether somebody can come up with an alternative to do that. Oil impacts my life, living in the province of Alberta. It impacts my life in several ways. We tend to be a little bit recession-proof or bulletproof when the economy was hit so hard in the U.S. and around the world because of the influence of the oil and gas industry in Alberta. It influences our life because of the constant awareness that's being brought by media, especially with regard to the damages that's being done by the oil and gas up in Fort McMurray with the tar sands and strip mining, and the conversation becomes quite dull at times when people go, oh well, it's just 1,500 birds that died on a tailings pond. And I have to ask myself, well, if it killed 1,500 birds, what is it doing as that seeps into the groundwater and gets into the drinking water, and how is that affecting plants and future, what we're going to eat and how we're going to drink, and et cetera, when it comes to that. I think it really makes a big change. Being in Alberta, I think we're far more aware of both the joys of having oil and gas closed and the pain of what it is resulting with everybody else and the challenges it brings.